I am such a fan of identity. I think that it's so neat that every human being is a little bit different or a lot different. I think that's just really cool. And it's fascinating to me how different cultures impact our identities. And I'm really excited today to introduce you to a book called Errant Fire by Josiah Stilwell. And this is the most fabulous book of fiction that is related to identity with four different human beings who've had their own different kinds of spiritual wounding culturally, familially, in their communities, just in different ways. And they somehow have a situation where they have to take on some decision making for the cultures overall. And there are a bunch of them. So these folks have to figure out, okay, how do I figure out what is right and what is wrong according to my experience and my cultural background? How do I figure out what to do next? And how do I figure out how to work with these other three people who have completely different experiences and cultural backgrounds? So it's not just a story about identity. It's also a story about building relationships when you're different human beings. And that's what I love. And so I'm really excited to tell you about this book because here's the next reason. It was written by my nephew. Now, chapter 2 in my book, Who Am I? A Deep Dive Through Spiritual Wounding to Identity, is the son of my sister. And that story is the big origin story of my life with her and how that story progressed. And he's really special because he's the one nephew that I was able to be there for when he was first born. So I got to hold him just after he was born. Now he's a grown man. He's 27 years old this week. And I'm just delighted to read it. It was kind of fun to read it knowing that I know him. And I was just amazed at the expanse of knowledge that he has in building different cultures. And here's why. Josiah spent a year traveling around the world with an organization to countries that I knew very, very little about in different continents. And he came back with all sorts of stories, and I can see those stories in this book. I can see those cultures in this book. And he builds a number of cultures, so it's not just one, it's a variety of cultures. So you get the full experience of managing your thoughts, managing your decision-making based upon your culture, based upon your personal experience, your emotions, and assessing what is right and what is wrong and how to build those relationships that are meaningful. Here's the other thing in that story is that they are encountered numerous times with different people who express they are good. And some of them are, and some of them aren't. So they each have to go through their own journey of figuring that piece out and assessing who am I going to follow, if anybody. And when do I need to make my individual decisions and disagree with authority? And when do I move forward in other creative ways with other relationships? So it's a very complex story, but is super easy to follow. And that's the other thing that got me is that there's so much action in this book. And I never got lost. And there are different characters, and I always knew who they were. And I don't know how he did it. So Josiah, how did you do that? Anyway, I highly, highly, highly recommend this book, Errant Fire by Josiah Stilwell, who I'm very proud to tell you is my nephew. It is worth your read, and I wouldn't be surprised if at some point a big publishing company takes it up because it is just the most incredibly written story. It's riveting. It is absolutely riveting. Once you start it, you're going to be hanging on the edge of your seat. He says there is a series of books that come after this, and I'm just dying to see what's next. I have a hunch where he's going, but time will tell when we get the next one out. So Errant Fire by Josiah Stilwell. Thanks, y'all. I'll see you soon.